I'm sure you're already aware by now, but there's been a delay in your schedule. The ship was slightly off course, but we recalculated your route, and it's estimated you'll be arriving a week later than expected. We've also been hearing reports of strange monoliths appearing randomly. We're wondering if you know anything about that. I don't remember ever hearing about a monolith, but I could be wrong. I think I might have heard something about it in a movie. Something about a space odyssey or something. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. Very well. We hope you'll make it in time for Christmas. Right. Monolith. Monolith. Where the hell could that be from? Wait. What is that?
A mysterious monolith that appeared in the Utah desert has disappeared.
How it ended up there is still a mystery.
But tonight, we know how it vanished.
You've most likely heard by now of the strange monoliths that have been appearing randomly around the world. One appearing in the desert in Utah and the other being in Romania, spontaneously manifesting as though they were precisely placed by some sort of extraterrestrial life for some greater purpose. Well, that is what we will be taking a deep dive into understanding what exactly are the monoliths and whether they have any kind of meaning behind them. Are they otherworldly creations made to monitor the endeavors of mankind, or some sort of art project created solely to further confuse the public throughout the chaos of 2020 as it nears the end of its chapter? The monolith was first seen in Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, adapted from Arthur C. Clarke, actually being one of my favorite movies, making its first appearance in the opening scene as the location is set in prehistoric times. Hominids roamed about when suddenly something resembling the monolith that we're familiar with materializes, confusing the fascinated hominids as they surround the foreign object trying to understand what it is. This is a pivotal moment for the future of mankind and the innovative evolution that follows, affecting the fictional history of the series, particularly by encouraging humankind to progress with technological development and space travel. This is seen as the hominids progress their technological aptitude by creating tools and weapons. Next time we see the monolith, it's taking place on the moon as we see a group of astronauts surrounding an identical monolith to the one that we saw on Earth. The astronauts surround the figure, and in an attempt to photograph the occurrence, they were struck by a deafening radio signal coming from inside of it. This confirms the suspicion that the figure is a mechanical creation made by something that isn't human. Also that there are more than one. Perhaps there are a great number of them scattered throughout the cosmos, all assigned by omnipresent being in order for a greater purpose of surveillance and shifting the direction of history as we saw happen to the hominids. Obviously, the monoliths that we've been seeing throughout the media lately aren't made by omnipresent aliens, at least not that I'm aware of. Honestly, with all the stuff that's been happening this year, I wouldn't be too surprised. It's more likely that the sculptures that we've been seeing lately are just made by artists who just want a public reaction and widespread confusion. And what better way to do it than by putting up a random alien-looking structure in the middle of nowhere? Although something happened that caught my attention a few days ago. The initial monolith that was discovered in Utah practically disappeared overnight. At first, everyone was confused, wondering what happened. What could possibly have moved the object and why? Some were speculating if it was the aliens because recently after it disappeared, another reappeared by an ancient temple in Romania. Well, according to Ross Bernards on Instagram, he alongside his group of friends had been traveling to see the monolith in person. It was late, and while heading to the destination, they passed a sea of cars, presumably by people looking to do the same thing. Upon arriving, they had met a group of hikers who were already there, but left soon after as it had gotten too late. Ross and his friends had the place all to themselves, alone with the monolith. After taking numerous photos, they heard a group of people approaching the site, 4 guys, 2 of which got close to the monolith, examining it. They both started pushing on the metal sculpture, testing how sturdy it was. One of the guys told Ross and his friends that they had better gotten photos of it. As they had toppled over the monolith, the other guy said, "This is why you don't leave trash in the desert." And it took all 4 guys to do it, but they excavated the sculpture from the ground and took it away to discard. One of them saying, "Leave no trace." This is what mainly interested and prompted me into making a video about this story. Not that an alien-like sculpture has spontaneously materialized in the middle of nowhere, but the idea of natural preservation of the environment. Taking care of the world around us, our environment that we call home. These random men were compelled to take it upon themselves to take down a monolith because they had been disrupting the natural desert landscape. With all the tourism that the monolith attracted, the delicate desert landscape was being deteriorated rapidly. That is why no one stopped the men in seizing the sculpture. As quoted by Ross Bernards, "Mother Nature is an artist, It's best to leave the art in the wild to her. And just like the Utah monolith, the Romanian one disappeared just as fast as it came, leaving no trace of its past presence on the land. Not long while researching for this video, I actually found 2 others that have been spotted around the world. Yet another one has been spotted in the United States again, this time being in California, and the other one being spotted in Melbourne, Australia. No word has been said as of yet who or how it was placed. Maybe this time it was in fact aliens, or just an artist having a laugh, causing all the commotion and confusion behind these metallic structures. Either way, I wouldn't be surprised if it disappeared just as fast as those that preceded it. Maybe by the time I upload this video there will be more sightings, who knows. I have a theory that these sculptures are being placed in these precise locations in order to make people go out and experience the environment that is the natural beauty of this world. After all, this metal tower got people to venture out into the middle of nowhere in Utah. Maybe there is in fact a deeper message that these artists are trying to convey. I just don't know about this approach that they're taking, especially at a time where it's essential that people remain inside for their own health. I don't know, in my opinion I think it's a cool idea, just that it's not the right time or place to be making public stunts like these. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe sometimes Mother Nature should remain undisturbed, because after all, it's best to leave the art in the wild to her. I was initially going to stop the video here, but I wanted to elaborate more on this issue alluded by Ross Bernard's quote that I just mentioned about leaving Mother Nature as it should be. While because I could spend the entire video talking about metal boxes that disappear and reappear around the world like they're on some sort of world tour, I think there is a greater underlying issue behind all this that I think is more important and increasingly more prevalent. Not climate change necessarily, although I think it's one of the most principal issues of our time, but rather the preservation of our environment. I'm not going to bore you with climate change facts like how the Great Barrier Reef is literally in a critical state or how global temperature recordings have been the highest they've ever been. But I want to talk about a story from about a year ago that I was reminded about. Do you remember ever hearing about how poppy fields were being destroyed because the tourists who wanted to see them were inadvertently causing their destruction? In an effort to celebrate the beauty of the flowers, people were ironically killing them, plucking them from the ground or even laying on them just to publicize it on social media. This kept happening until it became a big deal and even an actual threat to the number of flowers there. Stories like these fascinate me because of how people wanting to celebrate and display interest on one thing is ironically damaging it, which I'm sure is the opposite of what they want. I was reminded of the story because going back to the quote of leaving art in the wild to Mother Nature, I think there are similarities to that story with the monolith. The Bureau of Land Management, those in charge of taking care of the land there where the Utah monolith resided, they reported that the natural environment there had begun to be altered by people being parked on vegetation or waste being left behind. I think it's interesting that people were collectively going out during troubling times and getting closer with their environment, all because a metal box was placed in the middle of nowhere. Maybe it goes back to our primitive-like instincts that finds interest in wanting to check out a foreign object or the fascination of weird anomalies. I'm not sure, but it was indirectly causing harm to the land, which was why the guys took it down. In fact, maybe that's why these sculptures are being taken down shortly after appearing. Either by those who are placing them or by residents, I think it's still nice that people still care about their environment around them and that people still enjoy the short-lived wonders of the monolith. Sometimes we're too caught up with reality that it's nice to take a step back and just enjoy the weird events like these. Regardless, the message still stands that we're all just living on a beautiful rock drifting through space, and we should just take care of what we have left of it. Because if we don't, we might end up like those poppies,